Hey guys, welcome to this installment of Toxie the Night Janitor Speaks. So 2 days out from the apparent split between Mr. President, Donald Trump, and Mr. Elon Dragon spacecraft Musk, we have some settling into a new normal happening. Maybe. I've thought about this for a while now, and here's my 2 cents hot take about the subject for whatever it may or may not be worth, kind of from a higher level view. I'm focusing more on the ideas that are driving the conversation rather than every single tweet, or is it just an X now? Don't really know. Because I certainly did not read every single one. However, I did scroll through Mr. Elon's posts on X just enough to see many comments roasting his position in the thread. One particularly eye-catching comment included a screenshot of a 14% drop in Tesla in 1 day after Mr. Musk's tweets criticizing DJT. Yikes. Now, my position is this. I love what both of these gentlemen have done. I think, honestly, I'm going to say it this way. Both these guys are right. I love the idea of Tesla, although I may never be able to own one. But I think what Elon is doing is the future with SpaceX and the rest of his companies. I also love what Trump has done with securing foreign investment in America and putting America first. I think this presidency is a once in a multi-generational time frame, which can in fact be the inflection point in the calculus for the course of the US of A. This is a turning point where we can pull back from the brink of self-imposed destruction through endless spending. And for that, I am tremendously thankful to President Trump for his leadership and his position regarding America First. And I'm thankful to Mr. Musk for his position that we must save ourselves by stopping spending. I think there are a couple of ideas at play here. To be clear, Trump has inherited more spending and more debt from 4 years of Bidenomics. No dispute. Now, one could argue that in his first term, Trump did not really curb spending as much as he could have, and he was also responsible for adding trillions of dollars to the deficit over the course of his first term. I've heard that argument, and while it may have some validity, I don't want to dig into that argument just here and now, but perhaps I can revisit it sometime in the future. Unfortunately, like Trump said, he has to fix the problem that he has right now. So in the one big beautiful bill, my understanding is that the debt ceiling will be raised in order to accommodate the rising national debt. In principle, hear me, I hate this. It's just like trying to convince your credit card company that you don't have to pay them back as long as they continue to increase your spending limit. That scenario is really just a license to spend without consequences. That's no good because the U.S. government should be accountable to the U.S. people. It's not the government's money. It's the people's money. It's other people's money. Politicians are really good at spending other people's money. And on that note, taxation is theft. Ha 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 ha. Moving on. So this is where I empathize more closely with Elon and Rand Paul regarding the debt ceiling issue. They want to rein in spending rather than increase the spending limit. This is where I disagree with Mr. Larry Kudlow a little bit, who happens to be a really interesting guy who worked for Reagan back in the day and worked for Trump in the first term, and who I appreciate for many, many insights. However, when he applies that debt is just an American thing, like, apple pie or whatever else you want to fill in the blank, I just kind of shake my head. Now, I've also heard from analysts who project that the U.S. economy will grow by 4% year over year for the next few years during Trump's term. Other analysts are more conservative, estimating 1% to 2%. Now, the problem with economic forecasts is that while useful and helpful, even necessary, they are just like weather forecasts. They will always be wrong. I know this. I've tried to time the market when buying and selling some stocks with my own money in the past. I've made money and I've lost money. The point is that no one can accurately predict the future. The only real decision that one can make is this: to spend or not to spend. That is the question. The only way that I can guarantee that I have an extra dollar for tomorrow is to not spend that dollar today. Simple. However, humans are compulsive by nature. I remember way back, 2007, is it really that long ago, that the US government actually achieved I believe it was a $700 billion surplus. Show of hands, anybody remember that? Some guys wanted to pay down the national debt with some of the surplus, but other politicians wanted to already allocate the money for spending on programs before they even had the surplus in the bank at the end of the fiscal year. So it takes a tremendous amount of discipline, which I think probably must be learned in order to tame such compulsive spending habits. Nevertheless, at present, the American budget is in an incredibly difficult position. Do we need to audit the Fed? Yes. I would love to doge the whole U.S. government and reduce it to a single-digit percentage of what it is now. However, this will probably make a lot of people very, very, very angry. It would cut many more jobs. So I'm trying to put on my politics hat and think that way on how to solve the problem. I've noticed that Trump likes to switch things up for a while, see what happens, and then he resets the parameter and the system returns to a regular steady state kind of thing. He's done this with tariffs, with China, with Iran, with Ukraine, with the EU, etc. He will speak in hyperbole and see how people reply, then try an action, something maybe much smaller in scale, and see what happens. I listened to his audiobook, The Art of the Deal, which was published almost 40 years ago now, and I recommend it to anyone and everyone. It sheds a lot of light on Mr. Trump, how he works, and his MO. He enjoys making deals. In one sense, it's not about the money. Money is just a unit of measure. Ayn Rand. And it just shows you how many resources you have. President Trump enjoys making deals to deliver for the American people. So do I like the idea that we raise the debt ceiling and continue to spend? No, not really. No, I can definitely say no. But I only see one other option at this point. That option is to cut the Fed and the U.S. government down to size almost overnight, like with U.S. aid. Basically just chuck a bunch of it. And however, while I really do think that doing so, though, will create fallout that makes the fallout from U.S. aid look like an afterthought. So at this point, one could argue that Republicans are not the party of fiscal responsibility due to the fact that they voted to raise the debt ceiling and increase spending. However, a counterpoint could be made that they are in fact just dealing with the mess left over from 4 years of Bidenomics. There may be no other way besides actually breaking more infrastructure in the Fed that is still being utilized in a critical capacity. We just don't know. We don't know the extent of fraud in these other programs. That said, I hope Doge can continue. It will be really cool to see Doge dig into more pork programs, even programs and spending that's actually in the big, beautiful bill. So I guess my position is that while I don't like the big, beautiful bill in principle, I'm afraid that it's probably the only way to go, especially because of the tax breaks in the bill, and because otherwise too much will change too fast, and that will stress fracture the whole system beyond repair. And that could create catastrophic catastrophic ripple effects through the government. Think resonance cascade. So there's my 2 cents change. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one.